Good morning. This is Laura Harp coming from Las Vegas, Nevada. This is for EDU 528, and this is our week 2 assignment of creating a video with a breakdown of transportation costs. I work at Rancho High School in Las Vegas, and we are part of Clark County School District, which is the fifth largest district in the country. And because of that, our how transportation works is a little bit different than most smaller districts or smaller schools. So last week we were responsible for interviewing our transportation director, and I really made that more about our athletics and our activities, our administration over those, our administrators over those parts of the school. And the really interesting thing is that neither of them had an answer for how much does it cost for us to travel per mile. And the reason for this is because we're such a big school district that our district actually takes care of all of our transportation as long as you organize it and arrange it in advance. And so when it came to this assignment, I figured I got to dig a little deeper and find out a little bit more how much it really costs. And so somebody who actually knows quite a bit is our cheer coach. And the reason I reached out to him is because he is not considered an NIAA sport. And so all of his transportation has to come from their funds and the school. And so I did my best to try to address the problems and kind of break down some numbers. Okay, so you have the same screen I have, and you can kind of see what we're talking about. So first, let's just talk about the company. I kind of broke it up into three areas. So if Clark County School District is sponsoring our events, then this includes any scheduled sport, all of the playoffs, all activities scheduled and approved by the district with at least 14 days in advance. Okay, so all of those costs are paid for, and that's a great thing. Okay, but what happens if it's a Clark County School District that's non-sponsored? And so sometimes our preseason tournaments or something that goes out of state would be considered non-sponsored. And that applies to cheer as well. And so I actually found out from the cheer coach that costs about almost $400 round trip. So it's $195 one way. And that's a regular school bus. It would accommodate 45, students and about 5 adults. So it's about 50 people. Okay. And so I broke that down into the cost per person, per passenger, including the adults, is about $7.80. So essentially, you're paying about $8 per person to travel, and that's if you have 50 people. So the interesting thing was another option to travel is to use an outside agency. And so in the case with our cheer team is he doesn't travel with 50 girls or boys. And so what he does is he actually goes with this approved provider, which is Beltrans. It's approved through the district. And he chooses to get a smaller bus, and it's a 24 students and 2 adults. And so he's able to take these, and this actually costs, when you see those numbers, this costs about $76 each way, and it comes out to $152. He actually pulled those numbers for me from his receipt from this past season. And so it's actually more cost effective for him, considering he has a smaller team. He doesn't need to have a large bus. And so it comes down to be about $5.86 per passenger. Okay. And so we were asked to compare some boys and girls sports, and luckily we were also asked to compare girls basketball, boys basketball. Fortunately, this past 2 seasons I've been the assistant girls varsity coach, and so I have a good idea of the numbers and what that looks like. And so as you can see, I'll scroll down so we can all see the same thing. For our girls basketball program this past year, we actually fielded 3 whole teams. That doesn't always happen for us. We struggle to have a B team because a lot of our girls get pulled into flag football. That's also a winter sport for us. And so this year we actually had, excuse me, let me go back up so we can see my header. For girls basketball this year, we actually had 40 total players between varsity, JV, and B. Now, we didn't finish with 40, but we gave 40 a shot. And so we started off with 40, and our boys program started off with 36. Okay, they usually keep 12 per level. We had 11 away games, and the boys program had 13. If we had to pay up front for these costs, so if the district didn't just cover it, if we had to pay every time for a bus and organize it through our school, and we used the district calculation of a little bit higher price for that, larger bus, it would have come out to about $4,200 for the girls to travel and over $5,000 for the boys to travel. And that's just for a bus. I tried to add in a couple other numbers here and there just to kind of get a better representation. I assumed if we had a 10 to 11, when I assumed the coach's salary, I assumed how much I get paid. And I divided it by 10 weeks, and then I did about 25 hours per week, which we know is, conservative for coaching. And so that came out to be about $10 an hour, which, you can argue that either way. So let's just say that each coach got paid $10 an hour for that time, roughly. And we had 3 coaches for our 3 levels this year. It was difficult. My varsity coach actually was also the B team coach, and so she certainly put in more than her fair share of time. The boys program had 5 coaches. And so if we add in those costs for about 4 hours, I said, from anywhere from after school to the game wrapping up. So I just did a very conservative number of 4 hours. To pay for coaches would be about $500. To pay for boys would be almost $600. And then I just added together the cost for the away game for transportation and the cost for the away game for the coaches. And here we get that number, about $5,600 for the season for both teams. And so it's an interesting situation, as in, my math might be a little funky on that one. That's okay. I can fix it. And so it's interesting because we're very, very grateful that the Clark County School District pays for our transportation, because I know we don't have $5,600 in the budget. We do some fundraising, and we actually sell all of the concessions during the basketball season. So it's very, very busy for us coaches, but we generate most of our funds from concession work during our season. So one thing I wanted to compare, actually, and was the fact that last year we actually only had 2 teams. For the girls program, only had a JV and a varsity team. We were not able to have enough 9th graders come out to field a full team. And that's pretty normal for quite a few of our schools here. It fluctuates year to year, but most times in our conference, if we have 12 teams in a conference, we might only have 5 or 6 B team games. Not everybody can make that happen every year. And so what's interesting to me is that, let's say that we chose to only do varsity and JV. And so we just kept it 2 levels. And let's say we capped it at 24 girls. Okay. We could actually, if it fell on us as a school to do that transportation, we could actually go with that smaller bus, through Beltrans. And then you break that all down, and we actually it'll be much cheaper to operate and go to these away games. And so it's an interesting concept, because we wouldn't have to have as many coaches. We wouldn't have to, it just would be a little less stressful as on the coaches. Okay. And the last thing I added down here was, what if these are away games that, take you out of school for your last hour, depending on how far away they are. We didn't even factor in, how much it costs to get a sub for the day or a sub for an hour or anything like that. So just something to consider. So I wasn't able to really do a per mile or anything like that, but I was thinking based on our schedule from last year and our numbers and our, per event type of situation. And so thankfully, Clark County School District pretty much operates and assumes that it will take all that. As long as everything's organized, it does it. So thank you very much.